Welcome to All Lacrosse Live on a Sunday morning. It is Super Bowl Sunday, and the Eagles are in the Super Bowl, so obviously we're not going to be competing with them. We're here. Shawn he's at his in-laws. He's in Saskatoon again, but he was trying to get to us through a hotspot, and he made it to the pregame, but I had to be a late game scratch. If he happens to make it, that would be awesome. If not, we'll see him next week. But with me, of course, I have Muffler Mike Kostiuk over in Connecticut. How are you doing, Mike?
I'm doing good, Gary.
Great. I love that sweatshirt, man.
Oh, yes.
Oh, not a beauty?
Hit us up, people. Beauty. Hit us up for orders.
That's it. DM us, email us, smoke signal us, whatever you'd like, and we can hook you up. You want caps? We got caps. You want golf shirts? We got golf shirts. You want sweatshirts or hoodies? We got all that too. DM us with sizes, and we will get prices out to you. And we can do it from two ways, the Canadian way through me or the U.S. way through Mike. And that would be awesome. Awesome. Can't get enough of that stuff around the world.
Absolutely.
It's been a busy week. And I say with the Super Bowl, we got a few things to get out of the way first. Of course, like always, remember that all the episodes are streamed live across Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch. And you can catch all the action on eopsports.com. Remember to hit subscribe, follow, like buttons, and always share with everybody. Enjoy all of our affiliates. As you can see, there are plenty of shows to check. The Broad Street Bully Podcast, Philly Press Box Radio, Edge of Philly Sports Live, Bird's IQ, Patterson Avenue Fanatics, Talking Philly Sports with Matty B, which includes Clear the Ice for the Flyers, Devereaux Sports, The Painted Lines, and Party on Broad. And if you've missed a show, no worry. You can grab podcasts on all the major podcasting companies, which include Amazon, iTunes, Google Play, TuneIn, Stitcher, and Spotify. And you can also catch us on YouTube, on our YouTube page of All Across All the Time, or on the EOP YouTube page. Remember, you can stay up to date with all sports by visiting eopsports.com with great articles from our huge staff of contributors. While you're there, please subscribe to our weekly newsletter, and you can subscribe, of course, at eopsports.com. Remember, it's game day, folks, and, of course, the best in the business, Devereaux Sports and EOP have got the pregame, the halftime, and the postgame show, which will have a championship crowned, and hopefully your Eagles will be the ones that have got it. Remember, if you're still looking for a place to go and see the game, you'll want to go to Kelly's at 400 Paul Houghton Avenue in Leicester, Pennsylvania. And the guys have been just getting on me constantly because the food is so amazing there. The cheesesteak egg rolls, man. I just can't get over that one. That's amazing. But yeah, there's drink specials, all kinds of great food. Kelly's Corner Bar in Leicester is where you want to go. If you can't make it there, you're going to want to go to Dolan's. And of course, with Dolan's, you have 24 East Sellers Avenue, Ridley Park. Memorabilia giveaways, $8 cheesesteaks, wing cheesesteak, great drink specials, all kinds of things. You want to go to Dolan's in Ridley
I'm
Park.
hungry.
I'll tell you, man.
That wing cheesesteak.
Oh, doesn't that sound great? Now, of course, if you need tickets to anything, you want to go to sherrystickets.com. Easy to use and has no hidden fees. The price you see is the price you pay. Pay less and play more with sherrystickets.com. Save even more by using the exclusive promo code EOP10. Don't pay hidden fees and save 10%. Why use any other ticket reseller and get those hard-to-come-by tickets to the big game? If you need a more personal touch, give them a call at 610-494-5050 or visit their office at 1382 Nauman's Creek Road, Suite 1 in Garnet Valley, Pennsylvania. Sherry'sTickets.com also has great theater and concert tickets that are hard to get your hands on. Remember, don't overpay with the rest. Save with the best. Sherry'sTickets.com. And remember, 10% extra off by using that EOP10 code. All right, Philly sports trips. There are a number of sports trips that are going on over there, including a couple with the Philadelphia Union. There's one with the 76ers. There's even one coming up, I believe, in May that goes over into England. So you'll want to go over to phillysportstrips.com and see what your fancy is and see if you want to catch a Phillies game, a Sixers game, maybe even want to catch the Union overseas. And if you wind up with a little bit of trouble, David R. Cherry Esquire and his associates in the Cherry firm will be happy to help you. Workers' comp claims, motor vehicle accidents, personal injury, or criminal law. CherryInjuryLaw.com or call them at 610-565-0300. Tell them the EOP boys sent you, and they will be happy to hook you up. Well, it is Eagles Day. This is the big one. Fly,
Yeah.
Eagles, fly. I don't own an Eagles shirt, so the best thing I could do is going from the Philadelphia Box Lacrosse Association. I have a jersey from the Reapers, and Liberty Bell on there, and of course, Fly, Eagles, fly with a cap. Eduardo's with us. Ready to head home. Eagles by 14. There you go.
All right.
Well done. Well done. Yeah, Eduardo has been traveling around a bit. He was at the Panther City game last night, and he could tell us that he was one of the few that was at the Panther City game last night. Attendance was sparse over there, which is a shame because they've got such a great product and such a great team that I really hope that they're able to get the marketing together. But they have the same problem as a lot of southern towns, Mike, and that is, for one, it's a bull riding scenario scene out there, and it's really hard to get the people indoors from that. Also, he was saying there was a gun show directly next door, so you had people going in there and not going to the building. But he also, the thing that was disturbing to me a little bit was saying that he talked to about 500 people, and a handful of people knew they had a team, and one person had actually gone to a game.
Yeah, that's a little disappointing.
2,300 back.
So
that's frightening, you know.
I mean,
He's
I hope
still in
they
Dallas.
can figure out a way to take care of business and kind of market things better and
Yeah.
find a way to get through. I mean, there's such a big population down there. I just have a hard time believing if people are going to the arena for rodeos and PBR shows and to see the Dallas Wings for the WNBA.
Yeah.
Hopefully they've got marketing going in the arenas and
during half times and during whatever.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to hear because I feel like it should be going better, especially since they've got several players in market. Grennan, Caputo, I think they live in market. Will Malcolm maybe lives in market.
And so does Bob Hartley, the GM. He's staying in market as well. So, it'd be really nice to a few more things. They do have some youth programs that they're starting. And I know Dean Farrell had mentioned a few things that the marketing department is working extra hard overtime and really trying to get things rolling. But I know it's tough when people don't know or understand the sport to get it moving. But once it starts rolling, it will pay off dividends.
Absolutely. I do liken it a little bit to the situation, being a New England Black Wolves fan and being a season ticket holder for 4 years. It was kind of a similar situation there. They also their main tenant was the Connecticut Sun of the WNBA, but they also had concerts, live shows, that sort of thing that they used the arena for, and the arena wasn't quite was with the configuration. It was just configured enough that they could fit the box lacrosse team in there, but I do remember in some aspects marketing had maybe some issues, kind of marketing to say the women's professional basketball crowd to come see men's professional box lacrosse. So I can attest to the challenges that Panther City may be facing at the moment, but I can say that during the 7 years that the Black Wolves were at Mohegan Sun, the marketing definitely got better year after year, and attendance got better year after year. So,
and I can see with MSL even here, it's really tough to get people in arenas when it's nice out. Especially here when we have 4 or 5 months of winter, and then when it finally does get nice and warm, you don't want to be inside an arena. You want to be outside and enjoying the weather before it turns again. So I get that, but season long, if it's warm 12 months of the year, maybe we find a way to get them inside. I think it's going to take papering that house. Take the loss for a year, paper that house, and everybody who I've ever brought to a game is hooked. When they see it live, it's one thing to see it on television, but when you see the game live and the excitement and how fast it really is and how big these guys really are and what they can do, and just the entire game op presentation, you're hooked. And to paper it for a while, also gear it towards kids. I've said that forever. We gear for the party, but gear it towards kids, because you gear it towards an adult, you sell 1 ticket. If you gear it towards a kid, you sell 5 tickets, because they want to bring mom and dad, uncles and aunts, cousins, and everybody else to come see it. So that's the way to go, I think.
Yeah, and I think it sounds like they're headed in that direction. Yeah, the arena is fairly new. I mean, it
looks beautiful. Everything I see
it's a nice setup. They actually posted Panther City actually posted a kind of a time lapse video of reconfiguring the arena from like either a bull riding show or rodeo or something like that, where you could see looked like the Benny Hill show, fast motion, but they cleaned up and cleaned out all the dirt, stripped it down to the concrete floor, and then they're basically adding more seats to bring the seats up closer, and then installing the boards, the dasher boards, and then the turf floor, and
I'm sure it's not
ready to go. And those seats, those seats are right on top.
Yeah.
I'm
sure it's not expensive.
It's just like an old barn style, where you've got the seats right on top of the boards, so it's no different than, MVP Arena in Albany and other places like, Rogers Place, like, the Rough House. So, just hopefully marketing, if anyone from marketing is listening, keep going and just keep getting people, and take Gary's suggestion, get the kids. I think they're doing a great job with the kids. I think they've got the right players right now in market too, that to market. I know last year they did kind of a crossover with Will Malcolm and Mariah Jefferson, who plays for the Dallas Wings, basketball crossover. So, let's hope they can just kind of keep the momentum going, and winning a championship or making the playoffs helps too. So,
well, they're definitely on the right track. We'll get to that in a little bit.
Yeah. So,
but just a couple of news notes. One, of course, is remember, it's the second annual Bats Invitational, Battle of Interstate 90. The Rochester Bats, who won Laxney this year, will be going against Bank City Saturday, April the 8th at 1:30. Doors open at the Blue Cross Arena in Rochester at 1 p.m. Admission is free, but you need a ticket to the night game with the Nighthawks against Albany, and those tickets are not expensive. And if you go to the Bats Instagram page, or if you go to their website, you will have ways to get tickets even cheaper. So get a hold of them. I'm going to be at this game. I'm looking forward to it. Mike Cooper is a friend of the show, and it's going to be a great afternoon followed by a great evening. You don't want to miss this. News. We had breaking news out of the PLL, and the Cannons have hired Brian Holman as their head coach. Pretty interesting. I have to admit, I didn't know they were looking for a head coach, but Holman is the new head coach with the Cannons. Hopefully they are able to get into the playoffs this year.
Definitely.
We had a bit of bad news, and that's Joey Caputo is out for the season. He had a season-ending Achilles injury in Georgia, and he's already started his road to recovery, and that's going to be a big loss. and they felt it already last night.
I think so.
A couple of birthdays. Nick Rose, I believe he's 35. He had his birthday yesterday. A couple of legends with their birthdays last week. Johnny Davis turned 79, who is to the right in the picture. And, of course, the tall gentleman who makes me look like a midget is John Grant Sr., and he had his birthday also. I believe he turned 75. A few milestones that were hit in the last week or so. Number one, Doug Jamieson from the Albany Firewolves with 2,000 career saves. Pretty impressive, I'd say.
Congratulations. Yep.
Yeah. Greg Downey from the Albany Firewolves with 1,000 loose balls and 200 games played. That's another big feat, I'm telling you. Fantastic. Yep. Jeff Teat in only his second year with 100 career assists. He actually added to that total. He had a huge game last night. We'll get to that also in a minute or two. Connor Robinson with 100 career points. And, how big a player was he in the finals? Man.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
He really showed what he's worth in this league, and he will be here a long time. We'll be talking about his 500 career point not long from now. It's just that good a player.
Not at all.
Tom Schreiber up to 400 career points. He had a couple of points over the weekend, but that was the big one from last week. And Chad Tutton, he's now played 100 games in the NLL. Congratulations to Chad. And Nick Rose, the birthday boy, also hit his 200th career game just on Friday night in Georgia. It's pretty fantastic milestones, Mike.
Oh yeah, then they keep on coming. So
yeah, they keep on rolling. Rochester. I think Mike Hazen passed Les Bartley on the all-time wins with that win yesterday. That's pretty spectacular. Yeah. That's an elite crowd.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely.
Hall of Fame player, Hall of Fame coach, and in all levels. Hazen has done it with Junior. He's the Peterborough head coach, so 4-man cups to go with everything else, as well as he did with the Brampton Juniors. He was a coach there, as well as the Rochester gig in both Rochester teams. So we move ourselves over to the ALL. And they have one more game going this week, this afternoon, but a couple of real strange ones, man. I'm telling you, just shockers. We start off on Friday with the over up in the Iroquois Lacrosse Arena up in Hagersville, and the Six Nations Snipers got on track, and they beat the Oswego Bears. 19-14. Big news in this one really was it was a very close game up until about the last 5 or 7 minutes, and Six Nations just pulled it out. It was just amazing game. All these games in the Arena Lacrosse are just absolutely worth your time and worth your money. Just an incredible game. Chayton King, 6 goals, 3 assists. Keto Hill, 2 goals, 5 assists. And Joe Adeas Miracle, 3 goals, 1 assist, led the way for the Snipers. Dusty Hill was spectacular in net for the Snipers. He also chipped in with 2 assists to go with everything. Oakley Thomas, James Whiteford, and Isaac Vanderzam led the way for the Bears. Troy Benedict had a solid game also, making 45 saves in a loss. Saturday, the Toronto Monarchs played the Peterborough Timbermen, and I've mentioned before that the Timbermen have been kind of woeful this year, losing so many players to the PBLA who are now in limbo. But every week they're getting better. Every week they're gelling. The Toronto Monarchs are a top-tier team in this league, just below Oshawa in the standings, and they barely got by them. The Monarchs won 17-13. And again, it's another game in which the Timbermen look even more in sync than previous weeks. Although Toronto came away with a victory, Peterborough didn't make it very easy at all. The Timbermen jumped out to a 2-goal lead in the first, but 7 of the next 8 goals were for the Monarchs, and that changed the entire dynamic of the game. Peterborough kept fighting all the way, matching the Monarchs goal for goal, with Toronto coming away with a 17-13 win. Jordan Dance was spectacular for the Monarchs. I've talked a number of times about him. He had 8 goals, 2 assists in this game. Parker Pfeiffer, 3 goals, 7 assists. Jordan Dance played with the Major Series Excelsiors for a number of years as well. I really do hope he gets a chance before he hangs them up to get a sniff in the NLL. He is just a born goal scorer. The Dance family is a high lineage family in the lacrosse world anyways, but just spectacular. Week in, week out, Jordan is always making his mark. So the Monarchs were in their winning ways. The shocker of the week and the game of the week was last night in Children's Arena in Oshawa. And the Whitby Steelhawks played the Oshawa Outlaws, and it was a battle of 1 versus 2. Whitby surprised the Outlaws 15-10. Steelhawks tried to set the pace early, but Oshawa was equal to the task pretty much all evening long. It looked like Whitby was going to pull away in the third quarter, going on a 3-goal run, but early in the fourth, Oshawa was able to get within 1 goal again. Special teams was with the undoing for Oshawa in this game. 2 shorthanded goals from the Steelhawks and a power play goal was the dagger in the last few minutes of the game. Whitby added 1 more even strength goal for the 15-10 character victory, I would say. What can I say? These teams probably might be the preview for a championship. There's a logjam there with between Whitby, Toronto, Brampton, and Brampton plays today, as well as Oshawa up in the top 4 spots. So just incredible. Any team can win at any given moment. And St. Brampton Express play the Express River Wolves at the Iroquois Lacrosse Arena at 2 o'clock this afternoon. If you're in the area, you can get up there in no time. Tickets, I believe, are $10 to get in. You're going to see some fantastic lacrosse, and you'll be out in time enough that you can get your butt over to the local establishment and still catch the Super Bowl, the halftime show, the coin toss, and anything else that you wanted to wager on along the way. Well, Mike.
Oh, boy.
It is that time. Yeah. Doom and gloom Mike over there, right? Well, yeah. Mike, you didn't do so badly, bud.
No, I did not.
4-2 for Shawn and Mike this week. They did fantastic. I wound up with 5-1. I just couldn't get the last game right. I had Colorado over Calgary. Sorry. But I did get my Bet365 one correct. I had all that right. And the funny thing was, I took Calgary plus 1.5 goals in that last game. And really, best case scenario would have been that Colorado won in overtime. I would have cashed in. I would have been 6-0. Yeah, everything would have been good with the world. However, it was 5-1 for me. Ryan was 3-3. So our weekly year-to-date things are: I'm up at the top at 41-19. Shawn is right on my tail at 39-21. Ryan is sitting at 34-26. And Muffler has made his way to the 500 mark, 30-30, and coming up on us very, very quickly. All righty. What can I say, Mike?
I guess I should have had some faith in Calgary this weekend.
I would have been Eduardo, man. He picked against Calgary in both games, right? So there's two.
So did I. So.
Well, you would have been sitting up there with me.
Yep.
You would have been 6-0, man.
Yep.
Look at that. Well, it is what it is. Next week's another week. I'm waiting for the ball to drop for me. There's no way I'm going wide or wire here now. There's no way I'm going another 8 or 10 weeks.
11 weeks.
Yeah, that's not happening. It never has before. Why would I change things up now? Anyways. Our first NLL game of the week was Friday, and Toronto headed over to Georgia. And this was an interesting game. This was really a tale of 2 games. Toronto looked like they were going to do what Toronto has been doing, and they just got out to a great start, 4-1 in the first. Of note, Toronto made a number of moves before the game. Dan Dawson went back on the injury list, but they put in Josh Dawick, and Brandon Slade was back in the lineup as well. They sat down a couple of the other guys who were practice squad guys. But Josh Dawick was able to get not only his first, but his first 2 goals in the NLL in this game. He had 2 goals and an assist in this game, and he really looks like he's found his niche in there. He's very comfortable. He actually he was the interview at the half, and held himself very, very well in the interview as well. Looks like he's been doing it for a long, long time.
Yep.
But early on, Toronto they had Georgia's number. There's no ins and outs about it. Georgia was trying stuff, and Toronto was in the way of everything. They also seemed to have Brett Dobson's number in net. He didn't fare very well at all. I say, transitionally, Toronto was doing a lot of running, and Georgia was doing a lot of trying to catch up. Desnew had a goal. Harris had a goal. A lot of transitional stuff. We head over to the half, and near the half already, Georgia's starting to make a comeback. They had changed goalies, and Craig Wendy got in net and stoned Toronto. I think he made 15 saves in a row before finally giving up a goal. But in that time, Alex Q and Shane Jackson were able to get Georgia back on the board. So it was 7-4 at the half. They came out in the third, got a couple of goals, and it was 7-6. Toronto finally, after just over 20 minutes of not being able to score, Tom Schreiber got a goal with just under 2 minutes left in the third to give him a bit of breathing room at 8-6. But Georgia didn't stop. Lyle Thompson got a goal with just 5 seconds left in the third, making it 8-7. Shane Jackson tied it up early in the fourth, and things were getting kind of scary. Toronto all of a sudden woke up. Bang. 3 goals. Stephen Keogh, Tom Schreiber, and Dan Craig, bang, 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 all in the span of just under 4 minutes. And it was an 11-8 game. And it looked like Toronto was going to go back to what they were doing at the beginning of the game. However, once again, Georgia pulled in the reins. Craig Wendy was spectacular in net. He stood on his head. And if I go with the Georgia announcer, not literally, because that would look weird. Man, I'll get onto that in a minute. I'll finish on about the recap here. Adam Wiedemann got a goal in transition. Andrew Q made it very interesting. 11-10 with just under 3 minutes to go. Georgia threw everything at Toronto. And Toronto even wound up with a holding a stick penalty from Brad Cree. So it was 6-on-4 for the better part of a minute and change. And I don't know how they did it, because literally Georgia threw everything at them in that minute. And they just barely hung on. 11-10 for the victory. Pretty amazing game. Tale of a couple of games. This Georgia team at 0-6 is not an 0-6 team by any stretch of the imagination. A little luck falls their way, and they're a 500 team easily.
Yeah, and again, we talked about it a couple of weeks ago. You definitely have to take into account that they, by far have the most difficult strength of schedule of any team this year. With I think I'm trying to think of who was second in line. New York, I think, is about the only team that comes close, and their records are definitely not indicative of what they're capable of, and it's more just a function of who they've played to this point, and just.
Mm-hmm. And the other thing was that the Georgia only played 5 games in the first 10 weeks. That's tough, man. That's a lot of sitting around and doing
that
nothing.
is.
It doesn't make the rest easy. They have an easier schedule the second half, but they're playing 13 games in 12 weeks or 11 weeks. That's pretty difficult.
Yeah, that we've
talked
about schedule. We've talked about guys kind of wanting that consistency of playing every week, but at the same time, when you cram it in like that, it can take.
They just came off a 2-week bye. Now, apparently, what I had heard from one of the coaches was that they were supposed to play Albany and something went wrong, and they had to reschedule a date before the season started, so it wasn't on the schedule.
Okay.
Which is why they had 2 bye weeks back to back. Because even for the NLL, that's a little bit absurd. Let me get on to this this broadcast. Wow, I went off on Rogers TV in the summer at a Brooklyn lacrosse club game, and how ridiculous the announcing was, and really if they knew anything about the game. I'll give these guys credit if they do know about the game. They do not know how to describe the game. And it was a very homeristic view of the game. So it really, I would really appreciate if they went to Graham Perro's Twitter and find his pronunciation of names article, because it was driving me a little bit insane, especially when Josh Daywalk was scoring his first goal. That kind of aggravated me. But just the simple things, get the names right.
Yeah.
Every shot was a ripper, which started, stomping on my last nerve, as well as really, instead of listening to yourself speak, have a message. Because a lot of the time they're just walking in circles of one another and kind of hearing themselves speak. And it really didn't make a whole lot of sense. The camera angles also were kind of weird. So I don't know if that was that crew or what was going on, but there were times when I didn't see the shot because they were aiming at something else, or they would zoom out to this really far thing, and it really didn't make a whole lot of sense. Or they changed camera angles in the middle of the play, which made it difficult also. So altogether, I would give it a D- as a presentation. And I hope the NLL is looking at this, because you're trying to put your best foot forward, and you've got guys like Pat Gregoire, Teddy Jenner, and a whole host of other guys that are just phenomenal. Every other broadcast that I watched over the weekend, and I watched all the games, was stellar. Stellar. I have not one complaint about any of these games. This game drove me nuts, and it's not because Toronto was in it. It would have driven me nuts if it was Vancouver against Panther City, or it was Calgary against San Diego. It would have driven me insane, regardless. So I hope they have a meeting, or have a look, or throw some notes that way, because that's not the best way, especially in a market that needs help, to get your best foot forward, in my humble opinion, whatever it's worth.
Yeah, it's just a hiccup.
I'm hoping, but I've seen a few things that I even relic back to the Georgia championship run, and we're having trouble with the play-by-play in color guys. So let's hope that something gets done. That was just inexcusable. Oh, we have Calgary into Saskatchewan in a late game, or sorry, Saskatchewan into Calgary. I expected a little closer game, Mike.
Yeah. Calgary got a 13-6 win and pretty much just shut down the Rush in the second half. And so much for my pick there. Thinking that the high-powered offense of the Rush was going to outgun Calgary. They use their transition game to their advantage, and again, Christian Del Bianco standing on his head, and just
I've said it before. That Courier trade, how big is that?
it seems to have just energized things
And solidified everything, because one or the other is in everything. They may not be on the stat sheet, but they are everywhere on the floor. They're just it's uncanny how you don't think that one player will make that much of a difference, especially when it's not a quote unquote superstar. But really, the teaming up of the Courier brothers has really changed just the dynamic of the Roughneck team, offensively, defensively. There is, like you said, a shot of adrenaline, this energy that's there, and they were already a good team. Now they're an upper echelon team, and they need to be watched out for.
Yeah, and as we're seeing, I mean, it's it's a tight West Division, and you're talking about, at this point, you're talking now 5 of the 7 teams really are
Hmm.
fighting for 3 secure spots, with that fourth spot kind of being questionable. And you really don't want to be in fourth place in the West, and with the possibility that you're on the outside looking in with what's
Yeah.
going on in the East. Now, if things kind of further divide in the East based on the standings right now,
Hmm.
which they certainly could, then at least you could maybe fight for fourth place and get in the playoffs.
Right.
But
Some.
these games are going to be pretty. These games are going to be pretty crazy. I actually went through last night, and uh, since they're not quite up on the on the NLL page yet, I know they're still working on the stats platform. But I quickly picked up some of the splits, home and away for each team, uh, in division versus out of division, and I thought it was interesting that every team pretty much is playing 16 games within their division and just 2 out of the division this year. So, bit of a weird imbalance, where
It's
we,
looking a
we've
little
been
bit like old Major League Baseball.
a little bit. And I mean, we've been used to seeing in the past few years, uh, even during the early part of this wave of expansion, that pretty much teams were playing almost every team at least once during the season, and
Yeah,
now
and
it's
that's
kind
just
of
not a good thing for fandom. You want to be able to see Panther City. You want to be able to see Vegas. You want to be able to see San Diego if you're sitting in Toronto. If
yeah.
you're
And I mean,
sitting
hopefully
Kansas City, you're
hopefully
going to
it's
want to
something
see
they
New
could.
York. You're going to want to see FT. You're going to want to see Joe Resetarits in Philadelphia come to town. You're going to want to see Ryan Benesh in Halifax come to town. So
Exactly. So let's hope they can, you know, maybe it's coming if they decide they do want to add a 16th team and an 8th team in the West. Maybe they can find a way to kind of even things out with the schedule for
sure,
next year to get a little more play.
yeah. Now, a couple of pluses in this game is Tanner Cook with 4 goals. That's a nice thing. You're not just relying on Jesse King anymore because he can be the setup guy. Goal, 6 assists. If Shane Simpson doesn't have a stellar game, because they relied a lot on him in the Toronto game, and when he went down, that was it. He only had a goal and an assist. Tyler Pace, 3 goals. Zach Courier, 2 goals, 3 assists. You're getting more production from more parts of that lineup.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be the big thing. Is we talked about I think specifically about Cook and Waters really needing to kind of step up, and these are top draft picks from several years ago, and it's they're basically being given given the green light and say go out there and show us what you can do. So
Right. Well, it's working, and we all had our trepidations when um, Dixon signed with San Diego after, of course, Dobie signed with them the year previous, and what was going to be left of this 2019 championship team. Well, what's left is a much younger um, team that is going to vie for a championship, and they look like they have been able to. And I will give Kurt Malosky a lot of credit and his coaching staff to be able to hone this group. First of all, pick it, then hone it. That it
yeah,
is a well-oiled machine, and there really are. And we'll talk about this again with the second game that they played the next night against Colorado. But they really don't have many weak spots on this team that are glaring. There are things that, of course, stand out at times, but they're just not real glaring errors. And I put a lot to the coaching on that
yeah,
and how to work
yeah,
with what you have and how to get the most of what you have.
yeah, exactly. Especially when you're going with a kind of a offense by committee kind of thing where
Mm-hmm.
it's not just running through King or just running through, you know, Josh Courier or Hayden Dixon.
Mm-hmm. Now it brings us over to the what I thought was going to be the game of the week, and that's Halifax traveling to Rochester. Both teams needed this win to really stay into the playoff picture because Rochester is coming off 2 losses. Halifax had a couple of weird games, and then they had a great game where they beat Rochester, beat them like a drum, 17-7. So you knew that Rochester was looking to go, welcome to our home.
Yep.
And that happened, and Eric Fennell scored the first goal for Halifax and quieted everybody down. But to Rochester's credit, you keep working, and away we go. Ryan Smith tied that game up. Connor Fields, just over a minute later, gave him a lead. Mr. Vela, rookie, he made it 3-1. Chris Boucher made it 3-2 at the end of the first, and we had ourselves a game. Things got weird in the second. When the game was tied up at 5-5, just after Ryan Benesh goal, Jake Withers crashed the crease, which got the attention of Tyler Biles. They got into a tussle. Somehow, and I really still don't know, was it ugly? Kind of. Was it deserving of 5 in a game for Jake Withers? I don't think so.
Yeah.
And of course, Tyler Biles wound up with a 2-minute penalty himself. So it was kind of strange the way that all played out. And did it make a difference? Yeah. Jake Withers to that point was perfect on faceoffs. I think he was 13-0. All of a sudden, that wasn't there. In fact, I think they went 500 from that point on, because I think it was 24-12, the final statistics on faceoffs. Right after that, roughly 4 seconds after that, Ryland Reese scored to give Rochester the lead, and then they rhymed off 3 more. So they wound up with a 9-5 lead going into the half. Again, did it make a difference? Yes, it did. A big one. That was a game changer. Now, Halifax came back in the third after the break with Austin Shanks and Johnny Pearson getting a couple of goals to bring it to 9-7. Connor Fields and Thomas Hogarth were the beauty of a goal. Brought it back to 11-7. Eric Fennell got one for Halifax. Ryan Smith and Brad Gillies made it 13-8 going into the fourth. Fennell, again, with his third of the night, brought it into 13-9. Then 3 more goals from Rochester. Katoni, Gilray, and Fields. Katoni's goal was amazing, man. He was running along the restraining line and fired a shot low to the corner, and boom, in it went. A little bit of field lacrosse in there if I ever saw it. Something I expect out of Tom Schreiber, not holding Katoni, but beautiful goal. Beautiful goal. But anyways, it was 16-9, and 5 minutes to go in the game. Rochester looks to have this thing in hand. Well, I hope you didn't turn the game off and go to the next one, because you would have missed some real drama, as Halifax showed just how explosive a team they could be. 4 minutes left in the game, Johnny Pearson scores. 3:20 left in the game, and Cody Jamieson scores. 2 minutes left in the game, Clark Peterson scores, and now it's getting a little bit scary. Austin Shanks scores with just over a minute to go. Cody Jamieson scores again, making it 16-14 with only 32 seconds left, and they just sheer ran out of time. I'm pretty sure if they had another 3 or 4 minutes, we could be talking about this massive comeback that Halifax had and historically was able to come back and win. But again, there wasn't enough time. A game of runs, and Halifax got on one just a little bit too late in this one.
Yeah, certainly the Withers thing. I did see the replay. It's
was it egregious?
I don't know. I mean, maybe I guess it looked worse just because he was kind of coming straight in, and the net got dislodged. But
I understand the 5-minute penalty, and maybe another 2-minute roughing to go with Biles, but I don't, for the life of me, understand the game misconduct out of it. And that was a huge game changer. Could you imagine if Withers being perfect? Remember, 13-0, plus being a force in transition and on defense, not just a one-dimensional Fogo.
Yeah.
Can you imagine him being playing the entire game the way this thing ended?
Yeah. It likely would be different.
Yeah, obviously I don't
I
have a
mean, I
crystal
mean, he,
ball
wa-
of what it could have been, but it's
last week
just
we were talking about him possibly being considered for MVP based on what he's doing this year,
yeah.
an
Well,
outside consideration. So
he's always been a game changer. Like, been one of the best in the league at faceoffs, but he's developed his game. So he's like Trevor Baptiste, right? He developed their game so much so. TD Erlin's in that realm now too, and I've watched him work at practice on everything but faceoffs to try and get better at transition, to try and get better at defense, to be more than just that guy that goes and takes the faceoff and sits at the end of the bench.
yeah,
So there's so much more to that position now. We've watched it become a relevant position, and now we've watched it evolve into quite a valuable position if done correctly with some of the greatest players in the world. So, yeah, I really do think that that changed the outlay of the game. Let alone they had to do face-off by committee, so it changed their whole outlook on how they were going to, start their uh, offensive prowess, or they were going to go into a defensive mode. And I'm sure they weren't practicing for that either.
true.
Albany faced New York. Mike, tell us about that.
Yeah. So another close game. We had quite a few of them this week. New York got out to a pretty sizable lead. Ended up chasing Doug Jamieson actually for most of the second half. But Albany kind of did like Halifax did, and they mounted a late 7-goal run to cut the game down to 1 goal, and Jeff Teat, it's his team now,
Yep.
and
Most certainly.
he got for me he did what really needs to be done by a true leader of the team, and that was stopping that late Albany run with 2 goals, his 6th and 7th of the game,
Right.
to basically put it out of reach. They end up winning. The Riptide end up winning 14-12. And again, huge night for Teat. 7 goals, 2 assists. Dan Lomas returned to the lineup in place of Riley O'Connor. He had a hat trick and an assist. Plenty of helpers from Connor Kiernan and Sundown. Kiernan had a goal and 6 assists. Sundown 1 and 2. Steve Orleman returning to his rookie form, 55 saves. He definitely got pelted with some shots last night.
Yeah, they're apt to give up a lot of shots because in the Toronto game he faced a lot of rubber too, and didn't fare near as well. But when he's on his game, he reminds me a lot of Riley Hutchcraft. When they're on their game, they are pretty much unbeatable. If they're not 100% on their game, they're easy to get rattled and they're able to be beaten. We watched Craig Wendy, who is probably the most low-key guy that I know. And I've known Craig through a lot of his trek up to the National Lacrosse League, through Arena Lacrosse, through Senior B, and watching him always work and hone, and very, very level-headed guy for a goalie because they're usually out there. But he is just very, very – and, the difference was in that game, in the Georgia game, was he was spectacular. And it reminded me of a game a couple of years back when he was with Rochester, and he was playing at the Air Canada Centre then against Toronto, and he stood on his head, almost stole that game from the Rock that night too. And I believe he became Player of the Week with that one. This one he came in relief and was just stellar. So he has those games in him, and another reflex goalie who also knows his angles. So I'm hoping that Georgia uses him more. Dobson will be the future, but right now you need to find a way to win. But anyways, to get back to this game, Jeff Teat, keeps proving how valuable a player he is to this team and that it is his team.
Yeah, definitely. On the flip side, for Albany, had an interesting bit of news. They signed yet another Water Dogs player. This time it was Zach Tucci to take over face-off duties. Basically, his NLL debut. 12 for 30 at the dot, so not horrible considering. uh, but he was able to duel Jay Thornbert pretty close and give Albany a chance to kind of get back in this game. On the offensive end, you had a pretty good distribution. Connor Kelly, 3 goals, 3 assists. Tanner Thompson, 1 and 4. Ethan Walker, 4 and 1. And Kieran McArdle in his return to the barn, 2 and 5. So
I had to look twice at this stat, was the shots on goal. Connor Kelly had 18 shots on goal.
Yeah. So
there's some teams that don't get 18 shots on goal. Jeff Teague had 12 shots on goal. To show how accurate he is. 12 shots on goal. Yeah, unbelievable.
True. A little crazy, but
I shouldn't be surprised because I say I've watched him since he was heading into junior, and he was already something special then. And of course, he's just been that much more developed now. He's also hitting the weight room too, so he's stronger as well as being, as Troy Cordingley called him years ago, the Wayne Gretzky of lacrosse, because he sees things that other players don't see. He sees the whole play. He sees the play developing. He never gets anybody hitting him directly. He's always able to kind of, just kind of slide off of it. So,
true.
The Wayne Gretzky of lacrosse, I thought that was very interesting, from Troy. But the more I see it, the more it looks to be a very true assessment.
Yeah, I would agree, and obviously something the Riptide needs. Hopefully they can turn things around. With regard to Albany, not sure. Now they've lost 3 in a row, and certainly look like they're tied in the win column with New York. New York's got an extra loss, but and obviously the tougher schedule of the two, but it's hard not to see the Riptide trending upward while Albany's probably going to trend downward and just look like, I certainly hope that they're not going to be looking to fire sale again at the trade deadline.
I hope not. I hope not. There's a lot of really good pieces there.
I think so, and I think it's just going to be a down year. But I did talk when we did the whole panic button thing with my article that it's not out of the realm of possibility for them to go and win the rest of kind of that 5-game stretch that I had outlined for them, and I think we kind of knew coming in that New York was going to be the toughest of those 5 games for them, and that it was certainly possible for them to go 4-1 in that stretch. The only problem is they lost the previous game as well, but they do have Vegas and Georgia coming up. I'm sorry, Vegas and then a home and home with Georgia. So there's certainly a possibility that they could turn it around and suddenly be looking at 5-5 a few weeks from now, which would put them right in the thick of the playoff race.
Right.
As it's heating up. So,
well, let's get ourselves over to Panther City, and of course Eduardo had given us the skinny on nobody saw the game other than us watching on TV. A crying shame, man. That's such a great team, and what an exciting game that people missed. 14-13 for Panther City over Vancouver. Just an incredible game, eh, Mike?
Yeah, and big. I don't want to call it a breakout game, but Callum Crawford had 5 goals on the night. All of them highlight reel. So
Mm-hmm.
hopefully the fans who were there and the folks who saw on TV, got their money's worth with that. And again, really kind of spreading the ball around. Again, we got Donville with 2-6. You've got Will Malcolm 2-4, Dodds with 2-3, and this is their future right here. The core of their future,
Yep.
and they're all contributing, which is what you need to see. Uh, Nick Damoud, 50 saves. Standing on his head, and they're really their biggest
Not literally,
weakness.
because that would be weird.
Yeah, and this game obviously ended up being one goal, but uh, if it did show kind of a weakness on Panther City, it was their penalty kill. I believe Vancouver was perfect on the power play. They may have
Both
failed to
teams were
score
perfect on the
on one
power
or
play.
the other.
Vancouver was 5 for 5, while Panther City was 2 for 2.
Yeah, and that seemed to be maybe a little bit of an Achilles heel for Panther City was uh, giving up all five goals on man up situations and not being able to kill those penalties. Kind of that's definitely going to be kind of a sore spot.
Right.
Uh, with the amount of success the Warriors had, they were able to pull their goalie, I think, as early as 4 minutes left in the fourth quarter,
Yeah.
and go on the man up situation. I mean, when you have a game like that where you're clicking on all cylinders with a man up, you're gonna be apt to take that chance a lot sooner. And
Now,
they did, and
normally
they,
we
they
have
were able to pull within one goal. So
right. Normally we have trouble trying to figure out bright spots for Vancouver. I saw a number of them in this game. One, of course, was Aiden Walsh. You can see that Aaron Bold is having an effect, being there and helping him and guiding him and how to handle this situation, because
absolutely.
he's looking a lot more confident in net, and things that would probably get to him earlier in the year aren't getting to him. He's staying calm, stable. He made 35 saves. He let in 14. That's fine. He's growing. He's getting better at it, but he didn't have that that rookie kind of. I don't want to use the word meltdown, but just the disheveled thing where absolutely everything's going in after that.
Yeah.
And the loss of confidence. He's still upright. He's in position, and if a shot beats him, a shot beats him. A couple of other points that jumped out to me was Keegan Ball doing what he's supposed to be doing, 5 goals in this game. Sean Evans doing what he's supposed to be doing, staying out of the box, and actually 5 assists.
Oh, come on! He's inching closer to that record. So
He is. All 5 assists from Sean Evans. This is why they got him. They didn't get him to sit in the box and wave to the fans.
Yep,
He needs to be a
absolutely.
leader on that offense and help along. Adam Charlemagne-Beatties, a goal and 4 assists. It's nice to see him in the positive aspects of our list here. Riley Lowen, a couple of goals, 3 assists. Brandon Goodwin. It's a much more varied attack, getting goals from a lot of people as opposed to 1 or 2 and only getting a handful of goals. Because remember, Panther City beat them 20-7 the last time out.
Yeah, and I expected kind of more of the same, especially with Panther City being at home. And
Mm-hmm.
you know, I gotta say, with regard to Charlon Beatties, well, him and Lowen, think I think we're starting to see that tandem start to gel.
Right.
With Mitch Jones no longer being with the team, I think Charlon Beatties. I mean, again, he's an older guy. He had the 7 years of college. Was ready to go. Right upon being drafted. So he's got a couple of years age wise on some of these other second year players in the
Mm-hmm.
league, but I think with that comes the fact that he knows now with the departure of Mitch Jones that he's the guy on the left hand side.
Right.
And I understand Logan Schuss is on IR as well, but You know,
He's going to be
Vancouver's
out
going
for
to
the
be,
year, so you got to take him
yeah,
out of the equation.
yeah, yeah. So I think he knows that he's got to be the primary guy. He's got to produce. He knows that Lowen is a solid secondary scorer, and they're working well together right now. And
Well, also with this, now that they've got tough guy back and it's 23-8 in this game, is they can plan a little bit more now off the face-off, going offensively and trying to ring out as much offense as they can, as opposed to before it was kind of hit and miss.
yeah,
So
I think so. I think they they need to adopt that kind of aggressive, borderline reckless attitude
yep,
on offense. And when I say that, I don't mean well, I'm just gonna wing one from the restraining line and hope I get top cheese. But they're gonna be. I think you're gonna see a more aggressive offense, and uh, obviously it starts at the dot with Hamer Jackson, who you already mentioned Withers and Baptiste and Erlin. And I think honestly, I think Hamer Jackson's probably the next guy to jump into that
mm-hmm.
tier, that elite tier, if
Yep.
you will.
Yep. And as that develops, hopefully he can develop a little bit more into the transition and into the loose ball category. He had 4 loose balls in this game, a few more, and might be that much more instrumental in the offense and into them righting the ship. Because I don't think, from where we were even 3 or 4 weeks ago to where Vancouver is now, you can see an astronomical change in how this team is presenting itself. They may not have the W yet. They may have just the one this year, but they are a much
Yeah,
more competitive team. Teams don't tick off the win column already before they even land. This is going to be
yeah,
a fight now, and it has the Troy Cordingley stamp in there, as well as the Phil Sanderson stamp in there. And I do believe that this team will look a lot different by the end of the year than what it looked like at the beginning of the year.
yeah. I definitely agree with that.
All right. With that, Calgary played their second game of the weekend. And, I didn't expect Calgary to come away with 2 wins this weekend. I have to admit, I picked Colorado in this one for a number of reasons. For a number of reasons. And I think, I didn't expect Dylan Ward to get pulled either. So it's kind of
Yeah,
strange.
yeah,
To see Tyler Carlson in net always gets just okay. Uh-oh. This isn't going well. But Calgary just absolutely roughshotted the Mammoth to start this game. You're looking at 5-0 at the end of the first. It was at one point 12-2. 12-3 before Colorado woke up. And this is already, almost halfway through the third. And
yeah,
here we go. Cue
yeah.
the
Played
comeback.
out a little similar to the Albany New York game, but
Or the Georgia Toronto game.
yeah,
Not
that
quite to
too.
that extent, but
And yeah, certainly, I think first, the big superficial takeaway you need to get from this game is uh Calgary again. They're they're for real. I mean, they're 6-3 now. I mean, you
mhm.
just won. I mean, it was a double header, but you took both. You certainly didn't look
You beat 2 good
tired.
teams too.
Yeah, yeah. Two, not only 2 good teams, but 2 teams that you're going to be fighting for. We were just talking. Panther City's going to have to do the same thing. They're every in division game is going to be of utmost importance, and specifically when it comes to those 4 teams. If we really think San Diego is as good as they look on paper and are gonna, I don't want to say run away with the division, but they are the only 1-loss team remaining. And, there's no reason right now to believe that they're not going to just keep on keeping on, and might maybe take a few lumps, but
Sure.
I mean they've I think more or less we've all kind of decided at the beginning of the season, with our preseason kind of thoughts that they were probably going to end up winning the division.
Right.
But now you're looking at, Colorado, Sask, Panther City, and Calgary all within a couple of games of each other. And, again, fighting for what might only be 2 spots. If someone in the lower half of the East picks it up their play, and, whether it's Philly, New York, Albany, that, it's just another animal to contend with. It's not just.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, the way, again, we talked about the schedule. The way the schedule is set up is they are going to face each other going down the stretch, and these are going to be magnified how important these things are.
Yeah, especially really, especially if you're,
well, even
and
for
I've
the
got
East, right? To see somebody maybe cross over
yeah,
into this.
yeah, and that's something that I'll have to add to the sheet I was working on, was really because some of these, in some cases you're playing a team 3 times, so you have a chance at a rubber match if there's a tie, but we could be looking at, 2 months from now we could be looking at some serious tiebreak scenarios where you're going to really have to dig down deep, and it might even come to your out of division matches.
Right.
If you went 0-2 out of the division, well, who knows?
Yeah, it's going to be a very interesting thing, and if anything is indicative of what's going on, these games being so close, they're not. We've had our share of blowouts this year, but it seems as though the teams that have been blown out are not blown out anymore. They seem to have found ways and through trades, and we still got a couple more weeks before the trade deadline, so I don't think that we're finished.
Not
I still
at
think
all.
there's going to be some tinkering. I don't think you're going to see many fire sales though, because I think those teams have already done their work. New York's already made major moves. Vancouver's already made major moves. I think you're going to see what the top teams get from some of the lower teams, but the lower teams have their bases set for, throw in a free agent signing and a good draft, and what happens? Well, take a look at what Saskatchewan did. It's just that simple. A couple of good picks and a couple of good signings, and you can change the entire dynamic of your team. The one thing that we talked about before is there's an abundance of players, yes. An abundance of goalies, no. When you get one, you want to hold him because it could be a while before you see another one. Kind of like quarterbacks in the CFL. Just ask the article. So,
no,
that's
I definitely agree with that. I guess that begs the question: what do you do? What do you do if you're, and I'll use these as an example, if you're Halifax or Philly or Saskatchewan, where you got a guy who's performed well, last season or the last couple of seasons, but maybe is struggling a bit this season. We're seeing that. We're seeing that with Hill. Warren Hill's been pulled a couple of times. Bouquet has had a couple of not so great performances. The big collapse there with San Diego.
right.
He struggled this weekend. Higgins has, up and down. He looked brilliant, against Albany, the other week. So
Deacon not waiting at the end to make.
Yeah, you've got that in Sask. You've got Penny
Stigliano
obviously
on the market in San Diego now since he lost his starting job.
Yeah. You could add that, because now you're looking at, again, we were just talking about how, we kind of expected they run away. Maybe they don't run away, because now you're throwing a 20-year-old goalie into the fire. And
you also have guys like Bailey Brown and Cam Dunkerley at the ALL waiting to come back up into the NLL as well.
Exactly. So
there are options, but is it that time?
Well, they have time, I guess I would say,
That's a good point.
the trade deadline is. Do we know what that date is?
I
Figure
believe the
4 weeks.
first month, the second Monday in March, I believe it is.
Okay, so 3 weeks, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
It's maybe a little bit longer than that, but you've got 3 weeks. And if some of these, and some of these teams could be playing double headers.
Yeah, that could
So
be the
it could
13th, I think.
so it could be more than 3 games, 3 more games to kind of see what you have and evaluate whether you think it's going to work,
Right.
going forward into the playoffs. Well, hopefully the playoffs, because
Right.
again, we're gonna see at least one West team. All these West teams look good, if you're gonna draw the line, at Vegas and Vancouver. All these West teams look good, and at least one of them, and possibly two of them, are not going to make the playoffs.
Right.
So
now, going into next week, we have
one is a reality. The two is you just don't know.
Yeah. Going into next week, we have 7 games. There's a couple of really interesting ones. We start Friday night with Calgary and Vancouver. The one that I have circled is Saskatchewan in San Diego, which should be a spectacular game.
Yeah. Yep.
Georgia finishes off the home and home with Toronto coming to Toronto. And, from what I saw on Friday, this could be a hell of a game. Don't even put it past it being Georgia's first win. What I saw Friday, I saw a team that is hungry and a team that when all their players are being used, and I made point of that in my article, is when it's just Lyle, yeah, you can easily double or triple team them. But when you have everybody firing in there and you're getting production, they're a very difficult team to play. Vegas heads over to Albany. The way Albany's going, I like Vegas in the game. Philadelphia playing Buffalo. That's an interesting one to me because if Higgins is playing like Higgins of old, that could be a really great game.
Yep.
Well, we'll see. Because Buffalo had a bye, so they had a chance to get healthy. So Josh Byrne will probably be back in the lineup. It gives them that much more weaponry.
Exactly.
Colorado playing Panther City. This one stands out also as an interesting game. The Colorado team that I watched yesterday, as well as the Panther City team that I watched yesterday, I think will be a huge matchup. And I think this could be another one of a game that I might want to circle.
And that's in Panther City, or is that in Colorado?
Yep. Yeah, it's in Panther City.
It's in Panther City. So they, because they've already played once this year, right?
Yeah.
And I believe Colorado won, but where was that game played? Was that in Colorado?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So I was going to say, if that was played in Panther City, then they're playing 3 times. So it's going to be more incentive for Panther City to be able to.
Well, wait a minute. Maybe it was because the next week on the 24th, the Friday, Panther City's playing in Colorado.
All right, so they're playing 3 times this year. So this has even more incentive for Panther City because really, again, this is one of those teams you got to go up against for.
And you got to leapfrog.
What could only be you need to win, and then you need to just to give yourself the opportunity to go into Colorado and take the rubber match of the series.
Yeah, and for you guys who are going to have football withdrawal, next Sunday afternoon at 1 p.m., New York is going to be in Halifax for a matinee event. Well worth the time to watch, that's for sure. Kind of an odd time, but it is what it is. Remember, folks, it is Super Bowl Sunday, and your Eagles are in the Super Bowl. So remember, if you're looking for a place to go, Kelly's over Powhatan Avenue over in Leicester, PA, or maybe Dolan's over in Ridley Park could be on the agenda. Both having great food and drink specials, prizes, giveaways, all kinds of things. Remember to check out all of our other shows each and every day of the week. And if you miss them, don't worry. You can catch the podcast of them on all podcasting companies, Amazon, Spotify, iTunes, etc., etc., etc. You can also catch us on YouTube at the EOP YouTube page. You can also catch us on all across all the time on Facebook. You can catch us on Twitter. You can catch us on Instagram. And you can catch us on our YouTube channel of All Across All the Time. Check back with us as well as eopsports.com/lacrosse. Check back with us many times during the day because as news breaks, we have it up and ready for you. For Shawn Slaght over in, I believe he's in Saskatoon today and had his issues today with internet as one of us. It's never all three of us, thank God.
Right.
But it's usually one of us that's having problems. But for Muffler Mike Kostiuk over in Connecticut, any last words, Mike?
No.
Predictions on the big game today,
as
Mike?
always. Yeah, I'm gonna go Eagles, but I'm not gonna give a score.
All righty. I'll go Eagles 31-21.
I would just ask both teams to not make it 4 hours that I'll never get back in my life.
Yes, let's have a great game. Let's have a great game and some great halftime. You at least have one over me. All right, you get to see all the new commercials. We get the Canadian feed where they put Canadian commercials over what these great things are that they've spent all this money on. And maybe in a week or two, I'll be able to see them.
The last few years, you haven't been missing much.
Oh, really?
I've been kind of disappointed in the commercials the last few years. So it's kind of, it's been downhill. I don't know. I wonder if it's like an inverse relationship with the halftime show. You get a good halftime show, you get crappy commercials. You get good commercials, you get a
mediocre halftime show.
Yeah. So,
as long as we don't get any gates, okay? Just no more gates.
Well, last year's halftime show, boy, I don't know how Rihanna's going to beat that, but.
Well, she's going to do everything in her power to try. So, I know a lot of people who are there just to watch the halftime shows. So. There's people even betting on the halftime show.
Yeah.
You're addicted to win. God.
Yeah.
But yeah, so as for everybody at Edge of Philly Sports, go Eagles. Good luck today in the game. I'm with you, Mike, that it's going to be a great game. And until next week. Next week we're back to our regular slot at 9 p.m. Eastern on Sunday night, and every week, as far as I can see, the football season's over, so that's should take care of that. So we will be 9 p.m. every week here at All Across All the Time. Edge of Philly Sports. Don't forget to come see us. We appreciate all of viewership.
Yes. Eagles Nation, please tune in.
Yes, please. And until next week, for Shawn Slaght and for Muffler Mike Kostiuk, I'm Gary Groob. We thank you so much, and we'll see you again next week.